We generally could. Yeah.
That reminds me of Devil Finger. Did you ever see Devil Finger? The program. Devil Finger.
The thing that I don't get, right? The thing that I don't get with umpires is they're obviously really good at what they do. Right? But at what point do they start to think, right, I'm going to make it to the next level. I'm gonna need something here. So like, you had what was his name?
When their wife dies.
Yeah, but like Venkat used to just kind of stick it out the side, didn't he? He was always out. And then you had Steve Buckner would lick.
That was my favourite, slow death.
Yeah, and then that was
he never really held it up, did he?
Yeah,
that was I know who you're thinking of.
Steve Buckner was the West Indian for sure.
Yeah, I know who you're thinking of. Rudy Kurtzer.
Rudy Kurtzer. The big, yeah, bang, bang. And now we've got like the 1, 2, 3.
I used to like Billy Bowden. Obviously can't Billy Bowden.
It's his birthday today. 57 today, mate. 57.
I feel like we should have introed the podcast already because this is a great position to start from. Because we just had this whole conversation that will be quite interesting, except for me saying that you become a professional umpire when your wife dies. That probably wouldn't go down.
Maybe this is going to be our trend. Rather than introducing it, saying welcome back, we just start by talking, and then we welcome people back. It's almost like I always feel like people have just walked into this conversation.
Yeah, quite natural.
It's quite natural, actually. So actually, no, we're going to start from here. We'll keep it all in. Hey guys, welcome back to Boundary to Boundary. My name's Andy Buzzer, and
and I'm Dave Haffrell, and welcome back to the podcast. We're starting it from wherever today. Apparently, we're going straight in. We're going in with a bit of fun and a bang. Yeah, if you're happy to use, I'm happy to use that. We can always
keep it in. Goodness gracious, it's
worst case scenario. We can do an intro at the end and just copy it into the start.
All right. No, if people don't like and they don't want to hear about our ramblings on umpires off air, then why would they want to continue to listen to it?
Well, exactly, and I think we were within our rights to point out that there's been some incredible umpires, and actually that leads slightly into the topic of what makes the best the best.
That's a fantastic. That transition was seamless. It really
Absolutely. We just listed the best umpires, the best everything. The Steve Buckner slow death. The Rudy Kurtzer arm coming round, the Billy Bowden bend.
Just before we get off umpires, because I'm sure we will. Do you imagine with DRS now? They must have some sleepless nights. They must really be there, like looking at their stats now. When's the last time an umpire looked at their stats thinking, "God, I'm only at 17% for getting hit outside the line"? Do you know what I mean? They must be an absolute terror.
I hope Joel Wilson doesn't look at his stats because that bloke would never sleep, would he?
Well, I mean, could you imagine? You got all these pro athletes looking at all their stats, and then you've got like sports psychologists speaking to the umpires, thinking, "Look, well, you're at the moment 37% against left arm swing bowlers just isn't good enough. Is there concentration levels that and we've got to look at your right eye dominance. You've got to be taking a different stance. I reckon that they'd be going through it.
Well, in last game you missed 75% of no balls.
Could you imagine?
To be fair, the DRS must have made it so much harder for umpires now. Must have made it because everyone thinks it makes it easier, but it just means they get less wrong, but they're more likely to get things wrong.
So much more pressure.
Because everyone's watching.
If you look back at now in recent times, the Nathan line, so the Australia versus England, where they've kind of burnt that review.
Yeah.
Paddy Cummins, I think it was against Leach, still hits him pitching outside leg. Then it goes to Lyon after the fumble.
Anil Fumble.
Yeah, the Anil Fumble. Very good. So yeah, but that umpire there must be thinking, "Oh, better not go to Australia anytime soon." Especially imagine if they lost that tour. That would have been
shout out Anil Fumble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, by the way.
So that's always my go-to. It's anything fumbles is always Anil Fumble. But yeah, no, I completely agree. That would have changed the game. But then that is what it is. Joel Wilson had that sort of series. Seemed
Yeah.
to get everything wrong. It must be hard, like I say, it must be hard for umpires. But we'll move on to the crux of today's topic, which is what makes the best the best. And I think we can't start this conversation without discussing arguably the two greatest cricketers, one currently playing and one that's already finished, and that is the Virat versus Sachin debate. Now, I would say before that it's interesting that when you think of who is the greatest cricketers of all time and who are the best, we tend to associate the best as being batters. And I don't know why that is.
I think it's because they do it for a longer period of time. I think when you look at a highlights package, when someone's burst, when a Lara scores 400,
Yeah.
But bowlers is so quick, everything can be over so quickly. Like, I didn't even realise, on the Anil Kumble, that taking 10-wicket hauls, third best spinner in the world, like you forget about that sort of stuff, but you could kind of list off the top 10 best batters quite comfortably.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not being funny. You see them more. They're doing it for a longer period of time, and even the duration of their career, especially against quicker bowlers, batters longevity. You should actually be doing it longer. Physically, it's less demanding.
Granted, in terms of one interesting thing when you talk about bowlers and we talk to young bowlers is that you're putting, I think it's like 7 or 8 times your body weight through the front foot, maybe even up to 10 in some cases. So there's that thing to be wary of, that a bowler, like you say, the shelf life of a bowler is a lot less. But I put a post out recently on our Instagram, Top Cricket Academy Instagram, if you've got a chance to check it out, guys. Is would you rather have a 5-wicket haul or 100? Because it's sort of like they're comparable, but it's interesting to think, because to me, maybe it's just something about a batting background. To me, there's only one answer there. I'd rather make 100.
I mean, yeah, to stand there and get a ball and just go. Oh, thank you very much.
I love how you got a ball to hand, guys. Love badgery. Like I say in yesterday's podcast, white stripe down the back. There's always cricket balls around. In fairness, I might be able to one up you there. Look what I have next to me. Your quintessential. Also, no sponsor, as you may be able to see. Second day in a row, no sponsor. I'll happily stick a sticker on the back, guys. If anyone's interested.
I used to have a bat in here. I've got a stump in here. This is generally my office.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, if you just think that the jubilation of standing in front of a crowd, taking your helmet off, and having the accolade of people saying well done to get 100. I mean, there'll be some. I would love to do this. I would love to do this, and we don't have time today, but we need to go on the topic of. So there must be some rogue fifers out there at international level.
Absolutely.
There must be some absolute steals. 5 for 25. It's like, what?
I don't know if there'll be any international level. I can't see there being any rogue ones international level.
I would love it if there is.
Because I'm trying to think of a bowler that might have nicked some really terrible wickets. And I can't think of any, because if you're bowling in a test match, you might get 1 and then get taken off. You're not going to nick 5. And plus,
Root did it the last summer. He literally he carried on. He got 4-fer, and then
didn't he?
The whole next day, like, no, I'm just going to bowl myself. Was it? I think it was Bessie. I think it might have been Bessie playing. Like, no, we're not going to bowl the young un. Nah, we'll be all right.
I'm on 4.
They were saying like, oh, it's all about the commentators are all about tactical awareness. No, it's not. It's the exact thing that happens at club level when the skipper's got 4 and they've got there's 2 more. Oh, look, I'm going to come a bowl. I used to when I first started playing cricket, playing second team cricket as like a 12, 13-year-old. There was the captain. I mean, he will name. I won't say his name. He would always come on to bowl when they were 7 down, and his figures at the end of the year were ridiculous. He would either take 2 or 3 wickets each game, and he would never go more than 15. And he was unbelievable. And it's like black and white stats. You're thinking this guy is absolute gold dust, and then you just realise the tactician side of it was just when he chose to bowl. That's the making of a great captain. But okay, let's start off then. Let's start off when it comes to the best of the best. We've got Kohli and Tendulkar. The reality is, I'm going to say it. I don't think Kohli will ever be as good as Tendulkar. Now, I'm going to say this because of a few things.
Yeah.
Performance-wise, he probably could have the chance to break a lot of of the records. But he will never live up to they call him a god for a reason. He has got this almost spiritual feeling around him, Tendulkar, that Kohli will never be able to master. He'll get the fame, he'll get the fortune. Don't get me wrong, but he will never ascend to the level of which Tendulkar has created for himself.
The reason he created that level is because of the fact that he was the first one to dominate cricket as much as he has. And it did come about because of how fanatical the Asian community and the Indian community is around players that dominate. So if Kohli can go on to dominate at the same level as a Tendulkar, then surely he can be considered as much as a god.
I'm thinking bigger than just India. You know, when it comes to, I think everyone can respect both of their technical prowess, you know, and the challenge and what it takes to be the best and what it takes for Kohli to do what he does. I don't think anyone can argue that. The reality is, when you look at Sachin Tendulkar, I don't think there's anyone on this planet in a cricketing sense that would go, bad bloke. Do you know what I mean? Everyone would be like, do you know what? I would love to sit there. I would love to.
But that's an interesting debate. Does that necessarily make you the best in terms of if you've got Kohli's stats against Tendulkar's and they literally are perfectly aligned? But it's a good point, because we're more likely to sway towards Tendulkar, because you'd say Tendulkar was this loved little master, this guy that conducts himself in the highest of levels. However, you look at the game that Virat Kohli has grown up in, and the sort of the mentality towards cricket now is completely different than it was back in the day. Kohli played it as a gentleman's generation. Tendulkar was part of that, where realistically you look back and there wasn't many cricketers that was completely despised or was very arrogant.
It's almost like Tendulkar was the top of the pyramid in his format of cricket, and cricket's changed now, and the people have changed, and the culture's changed, and the generation have changed. And actually, what we're seeing with Kohli is the TikTok version of what cricket is. Do you know what I mean? Explosive, expansive, exciting. Obviously, we're both too old to understand what TikTok is.
Absolutely. I'll be learning the dances. Ready? You got to go.
There's got to be a cricket one there somewhere.
There's got to be a like for that. We'll make a new one.
Head ball. Billy Bowden. And that just shows mid-20s to late 20s, still no idea what's going on with the generation.
Absolutely, but that's the best way. As soon as you think about it, that's when you lose it, mate. That's when you got to. So I was watching TikTok, but again, there's going to be a number of times where we go off on different tangents. But I was watching TikTok videos, and I'm like to my girlfriend, I'm going to learn all the dances now. I've got time off, and I watch them and go, I wouldn't even know where to start. I've got 2 left feet, so it's a write-off.
But no, I think there's got to be something said about these guys and their preparation to what it is in terms of creating them to be such a higher thing. I've got some names, and it's the names that everyone talks about. You know, the Kohli, Tendulkars, the Jacques Kallises, the Kevin Petersons. I would say Alistair Cook, for example. It's an unbelievable performer. Now, there's nothing in there physically that links them all together. No. Their techniques are unique. They've got an individualism about them and how they go about their game, and I imagine they've got an individualism about how they. I said that really well. In terms of their practice. Now, the reality is the only thing that links the best of the best in either discipline, in the bowlers and the batters, is mentally they have to be so much stronger than the vast majority of people that attempt to play this game of cricket.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing there that kind of links them other than their tenacity, their resilience, their Cook for me stands out all the time. And when I'm coaching, I use Cook quite a lot. And I don't use him for I use him for the fact that to have the capability to do what he does and to actually stop and say, right, I'm not going to play that shot. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to focus on maybe these 2, 3, 4 areas. For that the mental side of that game is it is so difficult to do. We've all been in nets and we go, okay, let's just see if you can bat for 10 minutes. And everyone's great for 5 minutes, leaving the ball, blocking the ball, and they go into this defensive survival mode. And then within 5, 6, 7 minutes, oh, you've played a cover drive, or you've played a missed one. It's a crazy thing. These guys are doing it for days, mate, for literal days.
Yeah, it's mad, and that's something that is hard to quantify in terms of how, and hard to train for these players that have got the mentality to bat long periods of time and not let their skill set drop or not change from what works, the winning formula. And actually, that's what makes Alistair Cook one of the best of all time, is the fact that he doesn't, even in situations when like he goes on foreign wickets where it's probably not suited as much to what his game is, or he plays against certain bowling attacks that don't give him the same level of, or the same width, or the same variety. It gives him more variety of deliveries probably that he's not used to playing. All he does is he just leads more, and that's where. But that's again, it's different to someone like a Virat Kohli in terms of he hasn't tried to adapt himself. He's just kept himself. This is where it's interesting debate, I think, as well, is to be successful at the top level. Do you have to stick to the core principles of what got you there, or do you have to be able to be fully adaptable when you get to that level to maintain yourself at the top? You've got two people at completely different levels. Virat Kohli has kept to the core, but also adapted himself massively to be successful. But Alistair Cook, you would argue, hasn't adapted himself as much, but he stuck to what made him good in the first place.
I think, but the key word you just put there is as much. I think there's lots of small details of which we kind of take for granted. It's just when you're looking at someone scoring 100, how they go about that, even the slightest differences, and the scary thing is in modern sport there is so much technology now. We can talk about angles and we talk about release, and especially in in the subcontinent where spin plays such a big the subtle differences of a bowler's angle can change the whole fabric of a player's technique. It's simple as that. And if we just took someone like a Cook, for example, he would never be stood in the same position to the same sort of bowler. Even just by moving these 2-3 inches and creating different access points to the ball, it completely changes everything. To score that many runs at that level, you've had to negate bat pads for so long.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's so difficult to do when you've got world-class spin bowlers coming at you.
But that also could define. Sorry to cut you off, Buzz, but that also could define how someone's described as the best. Because from someone watching from that side perspective, you say, well, has he adapted his game very much? Has he changed certain things? He still looks to stay. He still plays the same way, but he's made all these little adaptations that we don't notice because of how well he integrates into his game. I think that's fantastic, and it's like there's categories of the best now. I don't think in the future we will have a best batter in the world. I think you'll have a best test batsman and a best white ball batsman, and I think the white ball batsman will stay the same because I think there are still a lot of similarities in terms of the mentalities required to be successful in the shorter formats in white ball cricket. But I feel like we've never got to look at the game as split down the middle. And when you've got someone like Virat Kohli who can be so dominant in across all three, that almost raises his profile even more. Because
I think that's a really good point. Do you think then that from a coach's standpoint, do you think that there's going to be a specific time where we kind of draw the line, or at least academies, or that they just say, even at say 16 to 18 years old, they say, right, you're not going to play white ball cricket, you're just going to focus on the red ball, or vice versa. Like, I'm sorry, the way that you set up and the way that you play, I can't see you being successful at red ball. So, if you're going to make it in this game, it's going to be white ball. So
I think you have to. I think you absolutely have to. I mean, you look at the way the game's changed now in England. The focus is going in towards franchise cricket, which means there's going to be even less opportunity for players to make it. So you've either got to go for a young player now who's in that pathway, who's getting, I think, anything from 15 upwards. Yeah. You should be looking to sort of pigeonhole yourself and say, well, I'm going to pursue a career in white ball cricket and I'm going to hone my skills in white ball cricket, or I'm going to pursue a career in red ball cricket. Because realistically, you've got about a 1% chance of making it in both formats at the top level, if we're talking about top level now, whether that's county, or franchise, international. So realistically, I think for any young player, unless you are an absolutely outstanding talent and you have got the versatility to be able to be adaptable across formats, I think you've got to almost make that decision and go with it. And especially going back to the topic of the best, if you have ambitions to be the best player in the world in the future, in whatever discipline that is, I don't think if you're trying, I'm going to be quite controversial. I don't think you can be if you practice for all formats. I think in order to become the best because of the way the game's gone, you need to be exclusive to one discipline on one, not one discipline, but one
Or
format.
you've just got to be that cut above. You've just got to be. Now, when you look at the best player that's played our game, as in, it's got to be, in my opinion, it's got to be Jacques Kallis. And we've spoken about this quite a lot on the lives.
Yeah.
The bloke had the capability of batting the top three, and would probably walk into a lot of teams of world cricket as
every test team.
And then he would probably walk into a lot of test teams, if not every test team, as just a bowler. And he's also probably one of the best slip catchers that we've ever seen. So that, to me, would classify him as the very best of the best.
And to be fair, I agree. I completely agree. Because then you look as well, like the latter end of his career was based a lot around IPL stuff. And he was an integral part of it. I mean, I've said it before on a live episode as well. Kolkata Knight Riders is my team from the IPL. And I remember him playing for KKR and just being a cut above everyone else. Like, what he could do in T20 cricket was incredible.
And do you know what KKR really brought out on him? With a tighter top, he was a tank.
I knew it would be something big. You think it was going to be something profound, something deep, something about him as a cricketer.
His chest was so big. It was like watching King Kong, or Donkey Kong, with the barrel underneath his chest. Just like me no, you no bowl at me, bang. You me no, bang.
It's just as well. Like, on top of that, the fact that he was able to. He never looked like he didn't get out when he was batting. Like, it's been, even in T20s. I remember watching him thinking, if he gets out, it's going to be shot to me. And then I look up and he's on 30 and 40, and I'm like, where's that come from? And he just played proper shots.
I was watching a test match as a kid, right? And they were slating Kallis because they were saying, I don't know what his top score is. I think it's something like 160 odd. I think, but I could be completely wrong there. Who's calling you?
Oh, sorry. Well, that's good. That's good. I might have to cut that one out now. Remember the time? 27 minutes.
22 minutes into the recording.
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah, all good.
So actually, what we'll do is we're going to find. If you could do me a favour, can you find out what Jacques Kallis's top score is? I think it's like 100. It's like 160, but the reality was I was watching this test match, and they were actually they were slating him for batting too slow. They were saying how the game is changing, and he'll never get to the landmark of these other greats. And they brought up the stat of all the guys that have scored double hundreds, and I was watching it, and I don't know if he ever achieved a double hundred or not. I really don't. But I was there like, if that's the bar now that we're trying to kind of cut down one of, if not the greatest cricket players that have played this game, that just shows what we are like within the cricketing community. So
how ironic that the game's now gone full circle and batters are accused of not batting slow enough in Test match cricket.
You know, this guy has played stupid amounts of game at the highest level, batting the top three, averaging
224.
So he got it. So I would love to know when he actually got that. I reckon that was towards the end of his career.
4,500, an average of 55. High score of 224 in tests.
What does it say against who or when?
I could probably search it. A high score of 139 in ODIs, an average of 44, and a high score of 73, an average of 35 in T20s.
Rubbish.
Yeah, that's only. I'll have a look quickly now, see if I can find that.
But I mean, it's actually don't, because if I'm wrong, I'd sound absolutely ridiculous. But the point still says, I remember so vividly them kind of slating him, and I couldn't quite get over how we do this, and you know we do it with Kohli in modern day. You know, the guy doesn't, you know, he'll have one bad series or he won't score 100 within 5 games, and we're like, he's played it too expansive. And to be fair, I stuck it on my page. I basically like 3 pictures of, and it was just basically him playing a cover drive, and he was playing the ball really far away from himself, and he got caught second, third slip.
Yeah, well, there's 2 things here that sort of back up that point. And he put, Kallis announced himself as a batsman of international stature in his 7th test, the drawn Boxing Day epic at Melbourne in 1997, when he scored a fighting 101 on a worn last day pitch. Not even Glenn McGrath and Shane Warne could dislodge him before, and he saved the match to South Africa. And the last one is what you said. His critics, particularly those who have a limited understanding of the dynamics of the South African team, accuse him of not dominating attacks. He is already ground into the dust of necessarily slow scoring and of failing to take the match situation into account as he plots his innings. They've accused him of being selfish.
I mean, like stuff like stuff like that, and this goes on to this transitions full straight into these players of the best, because other people can go. The reason why they are so good and the reason why we classify them and their stats are so good is because they're selfish players. So Brian Charles Lara, one of my favourite players to watch, gets classified as a selfish player because he went out and scored the runs that he scored in different formats for different teams. Now, look, there is definitely an element of selfishness within cricket because it is an individual game within a team sport. You know, if you as an individual perform well, your team is going to perform well. That's the reality, right? Now, when you have someone, and the comment that I want to take up there is the dynamic of that South African team. So the dynamic of every team. If you've got a player of the caliber of Lara in that West Indian team, if he did not perform, a stupid percentage of the time, 60-70% of the time, I would imagine that team would have struggled to win a lot of games of cricket. So there has to be the responsibility of the best player to go out there and score those runs and put your team in a winning side. Now, that is the definition of what makes the greats, the absolute greats. Do you know what I mean?
It's funny because in any other sport, Buzz, and I completely agree, in any other sport, if someone scores 7 goals in a game of football, they're lauded as an absolute hero. People wouldn't even consider calling themselves. If someone scored 7 tries in rugby, you go, cool, they're legendary. I can't think of a relatable one in tennis because you can't really get ahead of the game unless if you went out and this is an individual game.
Individual sport, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's like it's crazy how we want to shoot people down.
So here we go. So you've got 2 of the great basketball players, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, or God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant.
Yeah,
they get put down to these mythological creatures because their ability to assist and to score points.
Yeah,
okay? They are lauded as the great players of the game because they've got the ability to win games, and especially in like NFL, we're talking about if you're going to win a game, you go to your playmakers.
Yeah, Odell Beckham, Tom
exactly.
Brady.
You go right from the QB. You're going to go to your running backs. You're going to go to the guys who are consistently performing, right? And that's the difference. So in cricket, we go if we need to take a wicket, you throw it to your best bowler.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So how can we then go for a batter's point of view? Oh, he's selfish because he's staying in all day and scoring runs. That's well selfish. And it falls into that category, which and we are very aware of this category now because we're coaching that participation versus competition stage at a younger age, and we've got to clarify that everyone needs to do everything and try everything and have the opportunity to do it at the elite level. If you're telling me that someone is selfish, I honestly think you need to park yourself, go to a bathroom, find a mirror, and have a right good look at yourself. Because at the elite level, it is about win or loss. That is it.
I completely agree, and I think Buzz going to take a 2-minute break to go and get some ice cubes just to cool himself down. Someone has a pop about Brian Lara and Jack Callis, and your ears go.
Oh, mate, it's just
steam comes flying out. But I completely agree. And it's interesting because again, I think another quality of the best players is the ones that they get the most criticism at times. Like I get it's difficult because if you get some players that are new to the game and maybe not at that level, they will get criticised. But the best players, you're always looking for criticisms. The test match between when Steve Smith versus England, the first thing the commentators wanted to look for was how do we get Steve Smith out, rather than actually sitting and acknowledging how successfully we're being. And it's always this case of what's going to be their downfall? When are they going to fail? How are they going to fail? How can we make them fail? And I'm not getting too much into it. I think it's a victim of the English media as well, and the media in a lot of countries of just crucifying people and looking for ways to, because we don't like immortality in sportsmen. In the sport of cricket, people don't.
That's such a good way of saying it. That is honestly, that is the best way of saying it, because here's something for you, and it was actually something that my brother spoke about last night, and I want to bring this up to go out on live.
7 for the 8th beer.
Yeah. Yeah, where the conversation got real spicy. Um, he said about KP.
Yeah,
Now he said KP is arguably one of the best players that we've ever produced, right? And I said to him, well, we didn't produce him. We gave him the opportunity to play his cricket, and then we took his opportunity away. And he said, should have KP played? And the argument is, at the time, he was our best player. I think
yeah.
he'll go down. Now everything's cooled off, and everyone's had their time to kind of evaluate, and everyone has their opportunity to go, oh, I was wrong. By the way, I despise that. When the situation's already done and nothing can be changed, to then turn around and go, yeah, I think we could have handled that differently. It's too late, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right. So the question I asked you is, KP, best of the best, should he be playing in that team?
Well, to me, it's a simple answer, and that is no, because the vision that England took was they wanted to go down a route of building a unit, the best unit at the time, and it was abundantly clear that KP didn't fit into that unit. And what you've got to weigh up is you've got to weigh up the situation in which things happen. KP, even to this day, and before people say anything, I am a massive Kevin Peterson fan. He got me into cricket properly. He was a reason why I started playing cricket, and I tried to emulate him as much as I could. But he was never really sincerely sorry for what had gone on. He was still defending himself, even in that podcast, even in the episodes with NASA when he did KP Story of a Genius. He's like, yeah, but they're my mates, Nas. So he's not. If he held up complete accountability and went about in a different way, he may well have had the opportunity to come back into that team. But you've got to look at, like, for me, it comes back to a bigger debate, which is it about, do you have to be best mates with your teammates, or do you just have to get on it? And I think the direction England wanted to take, because of how segmented that dressing room had become, because it becomes so split, us against them.
Do you think in that change room that everyone likes Virat Kohli? Of course not.
No, but I'll tell you one thing.
We're talking man management now, and this is what I'm saying. This is we're talking about the elite, the best of the very best. Their vision of making England the best team in 4 years. With Kevin Peterson in your team, you do it in 2 years. You man manage them, and you say, do you know what? If you've got something to say, be a better player. Just literally step your game up.
I disagree on the topic of, do you think everyone dislikes Virat Kohli has this perception to foreign nations, to touring teams that he plays against, he's a certain way. Actually, he wouldn't be the captain of that team for such a long period if he didn't get that. He didn't have the backing of all that. Because you look at someone like Sachin. Sachin was given the captaincy, but it didn't work out and he took it away. So he's obviously the right leader for that Indian team at the moment. And I guarantee. And the difference is the mentalities are different in India to England. In India, you win at all. You get in that team at all costs. You don't get in that team, and you don't start saying, "I don't get on with the captain."
But this is the point I'm saying. You know, when you're talking about India, all they want to do is win a game of cricket. So what I'm saying is, Virat Kohli, it doesn't matter what Virat does, potentially you ain't going to say anything, because the fact is that you want to play for India and you want to win a game of cricket.
But
so
I reckon you like him as a result off the back of that, because of the fact that he's obviously built a good reputation and a good rapport with his teammates. And I think the difference with KP was so much about him, about the way he responded to everything was bad. Like, he responded to his teammates badly at times. He responded to the coaching staff badly.
Oh,
he was almost that example of, like, how many strings can I cut? How many ties can I cut and still be in the team on my ability? Whereas I don't think we're talking about that same thing with Virat.
Mate, look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that KP is an angel at all. I'm not saying that he's an angel. What I'm saying is, in terms of what we're talking about, is we are talking about the very best of the best, and he is one of, if not the most exciting, most dynamic, and the best batter that we've had in our side for many, many a year. And the reality is, he did not get the opportunity that I think he should have got to continue to play at the level that he did. Now, I would actually argue, if he continued and had the personality, the exact same personality in this modern day, I don't think we'd be having this debate. I think that he would be in that team and he'd be managed better. And I think that you just deal around a big personality, because I don't think there's much difference between him, Virat Kohli. I don't think there'll be much difference to a point of someone like a Steve Smith or a David Warner. I think we are talking about people that psychologically and physically are so much better than other people around the room. It's just how they can actually communicate that in a healthy environment. And I honestly think that. I honestly think that these players are so good. They look at other international players and go, why don't you understand it? It's the same principle about how some of the best players in the world aren't very good coaches. You know, I've been coached by a few players who they just go, "I'll just do it like that." Surely can't you just do it like that? Well, no, I can't. Hence why I'm here for coaching. Do you know what I mean? Like you know, the best players. I just think they're on a different planet, mate. I would, you know, they're just on a different.
I agree, and you do make a really good point there. My argument to that would be, you look at the England side that just won that World Cup, that 50 over World Cup, right? They are made up of, granted, ridiculously talented players. I would say they're probably on a par with another 3 international teams. What got them to be that number 1 team in the world in their 50 over format was the togetherness and the fact that they were, as collectively as a group, the strongest group. Now, whilst you can have one player who is by far and away the best batter in the team, if they have such a negative impact on the group as a whole and won't allow you to build that level, because realistically, every team will try and build that that team cohesion and that rapport. And it takes one bad egg to get 2 people to side with him in something, and all of a sudden that's a completely segmented dressing room. You can't play with the trust. You can't have someone like an Owen Morgan as a captain, right? Brilliant captain.
We can't speak about Owen Morgan without me doing my Irish.
Of course it can't, guys.
It's you know, I think that we look very good. We got to I think that if Kevin wants to play cricket in my team, I think I would say yes. I would say that you can come and play, but I'm still going to bat at 4.
But this is the thing. Peterson clashed with Alistair Cook. In terms of, because he didn't like Alistair Cook's captaincy and he thought he was too soft. Owen Morgan is the best captain that England's had for a long time in terms of the way he gets the best out of players. You put someone in that team who Owen Morgan doesn't respond with, Owen Morgan doesn't trust him. That could be the downfall of that entire England team. And this is my question to you: is that at county level, one player wins it, absolutely. At international level, to be successful over a long period of time, unless he's averaging 110 and scored hundreds every game, to me, it's not worth the impact it has on the rest of the squad. Someone like James Taylor comes in to make his England debut, and he knows that Peterson doesn't rate him because Peterson's so blasé about it. That all of a sudden you get people going. There's that conflict between those two. James Taylor goes out to bat, knowing he's batting with someone who doesn't rate him. Imagine how detrimental. Imagine being in a position where you're going to bat with someone, you need to trust your partner, and the bloke at the other end doesn't think you should be in the England team. Whether that was said at the time, you know what Peterson's like, you can't hide things. He obviously made it clear in some capacity that he didn't think he was there. Yeah. And this is the biggest thing. Like,
should he have been there though? Was he wrong? Like, I'm not defending or arguing. Should he? Okay, the argument is yes. In that sort of thing, he shouldn't have said what he said. Okay, I get that. But James Taylor, was he good enough to be playing at that level? That's another debate.
What I would say
if KP was, if he stayed in South Africa and played for South Africa, if he was Indian or if he was Australian, would we be having this conversation, or would we be talking about the record breaker because he's played his entire career rather than being cut short for 5 years?
But this is what we'll never know, because at the end of the day, for me, this is my coaching head on this now. If I was a pure fan perspective, you'd say, I reckon I'd probably say KP should be playing for longer. But as a coach, I know the impact on the dressing rooms and a team dynamic has. And to me, this is what will never make Kevin Peterson one of the best players, is the fact that you need to be the best value to your team. The best player is the most valuable asset to their team. And like I say, unless you're scoring 100 hundreds, scoring loads of hundreds consistently, and single-handedly winning the game. ODIs, you can do that. KP it would be one of the best in ODI cricket and T20 cricket. That's why as soon as he got the opportunity, his career went off in that direction. Test match cricket, you score 100, you can still lose a game. You haven't won it for your team.
Well, let's flip it around then. So when we look at someone like a Muralitharan, a Shane Warne, So some of the elite bowlers, the best bowlers that are around, if they had that mentality and if they had that ego, yet they were consistently taking wickets and winning you games of cricket that way, would that hold any difference? Because I imagine Shane Warne in his heyday could have a few things to say, and I think that his personality might have rubbed up people the wrong way. But we're starting to get a link that the best players in the world, they've got that, they have to have that arrogance, that aura, that persona, because I think that creates the player in some regard. I think Ricky Ponting was aggressive. I mean, he just looked scary, and then all of a sudden Michael Clarke, he was the predecessor who plays in that situation, who then builds up the better player. Everyone was like, oh, he's such a nice guy. Then all of a sudden, when he becomes the captain, he becomes more aggressive. And then Tim Payne. Oh, okay, granted, there's a lot of shackles on Australian cricket, but give it 2 years, they'll be back. They'll be back to being aggressive.
This is what we see. This is what we see of them, though. Like, at the end of the day, there's a reason why these people are successful over long periods of time as a captain as well, because they have the best. This is what makes them arguably the best players, because they have the ability to put this front on and be that guy for their team that's out there.
Is it a front? That's what I'm saying. Is it a front?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because
or is it who naturally they want to be?
No, absolutely. It's completely a front. It's completely a front, because someone like Kevin Peterson, given the captaincy, never works, because that was the way he was. He was that boisterous. He was that aggressive within the dressing room, and that's not the way a captain should be. Someone like a Michael Clarke, successful captain, Ricky Ponting, successful captain for years, because he made a dressing room environment where all players that played for Australia. What they did well. If you played with them, you played for them. They loved you. They respected the hell out of you. They were there for you. They supported you. As soon as they went out in the middle, they went, I'm going to take it all on. I'm going to be that horrible guy. I'm going to be the one that the press absolutely murder. I'm going to be the one that they're coming for with quick bowling, aggressive bowling. I'm going to be the one that's out there getting pelters from everyone, because that's what I do to make my team successful. Kevin Peterson, on this debate as well, he was the sort of person that was, it's me. It's all about me. As a captain, you guys just sort of come in, you do what you do. I'm going to do this. And that's the difference. The best players don't show their team that that's the way they're thinking. The best players make their teammates feel valued, make it feel like they're all in this together. But then when it comes to it, they're the ones that are out there doing the business. And it's interesting you bring bowlers, because obviously we want to talk about bowlers as well when we quantify how's the best. And I think the best bowlers, it is slightly different to the batters. Agreed. I think you can have that a bit more of that arrogance, because of you're not one ball away from being out. So you and also you as a bowler, you probably need a bit more resilience, because there'll be times when you will be hit and you will be got after and you'll have bad days with the ball. But to be successful over a long period of time, I don't know. Actually, I'm probably just waffling here, but
look, when I see a bowler, and it's very tough, because I think some bowlers go underneath the radar because they don't actually get the stats that people see a lot of wickets. Like Shane Warne took buckets of wickets, but then there was also a lot of pressure being bowled from the other end as well. So there's and I think cricket enthusiasts will kind of realise that. When we look at these players, though, there seems to me to be a pattern that they've created something that's bigger than themselves. Murray, for example, was a fantastic bowler, and yes, he changed the game because of his action. And there'll be another debate that if that action was in England, or if Malinga was grown up in England, would they have even played international cricket, or would we?
It's interesting. It's interesting because the coach on the level 3 said we want to get rid of this opinion that it's never been there, that if Malinga had played in England, he would have been coached out of him. But the reality is, it probably is the case, because
it would have. I think that's the. I'm not even going to touch on that one. But the fact is, before they've bowled a ball, right? Before Glenn McGrath stepped up and took his mark, before Shoaib kind of strolled back to the boundary before he runs in, there is a feeling of anticipation that something's going to happen. And they could have bowled a long hop, they could have bowled a 65 mile per hour half volley, Murray could have bowled a full toss. But I guarantee you, to a naive, maybe underprepared batter, even at that level, that would have still been a dangerous ball, because they're playing the aura of what these best and these great players.
Well, they're playing the player, not the ball. And
that's what these players do, mate. This is what Shane Warne's theatrical kind of feel that go back to the 2005 Ashes, the big hair, the studs, changing his spikes for the first time with the red toe caps. Like, you just look at him like, yes, mate.
But you couldn't get away from him. He was in the slips. He was in the slips. He'd be the first voice in your head. I remember watching the brilliant podcast that Sky Sports did with Shane Warne when they spoke to him recently. And they were talking to him, and he was talking about a Boxing Day test against New Zealand. I can't remember the bloke's name. But anyway, Warner got him out so many times before that it was considered that he was going to get him out. And he remembered, Warner said the day before he woke up or that morning, he woke up, read the papers, and there was a 2-page spread from this New Zealander saying, I was doing it all wrong. I was playing the player, not the ball. And my mentality was wrong. And I realised this is my, like, and he started trying to break it down and say, like, I'm ready for it. And he said, I've been to see the sports psychologist and I'm ready. And Shane Warne said, that morning I woke up and I knew I had him. He went, the moment he walked out to bat, because he had to walk from the MCG, he had to walk all the way along the pitch. Warne was the first person to greet him. He went, what was the colour of that sofa?
Yeah. I
mean, these players, but like I say, it clicks in their head. I've got you out, and that's a level above. I think going back to, again, I'm going to relate all these players back to KP, because he's a good judge for this. Because how is he? Is he the best? Can he be discussed the best? And is he in that conversation? The thing with someone like and Jimmy Anderson's a great comparison. Aggressive, pretty much, or a horrible bloke to play against, because he's got this face, this northern face, where you're like, I would hate to get on the wrong side of him. His teammates probably have that feeling as well around him. I know that it's not just, KP obviously said about Jimmy that he was afraid. The scariest thing he ever did was throw the ball back to him to his mark. And I've heard stories about Jimmy Anderson bowling at the England under-19s in the nets. Someone straight drives him and he goes, do that to me again, you CUNT. So he's got this aggression about him, which you'd say arguably is on a level with Peterson. I think Jimmy Anderson was clever enough to know when to curb that and know how to manage that in it. Because obviously they're pretty similar characters. That's probably why they clash so much. But you would never know that about Jimmy Anderson.
Is Anderson the KP of the bowling world when in that England dressing room?
But he's not the KP. He's more intelligent.
Again, there's another mental trait between a great bowler.
But the problem is KP wasn't intelligent enough to know that there's times when you've got to adapt, and he never adapted to any dressing rooms.
I don't think you can name me an aggressive, quick bowler that is classified as one of the best. I don't know who doesn't have an ego, who just isn't, when you look at him, going, maybe Jasprit Bumrah at the moment is probably the only player, or maybe an Archer. But are these guys as good, or will they be as good as the people that we grew up watching? Brett Lee storming in, Dale Steyn, just aggressive. And they're not aggressive off the pitch. I guarantee you. And when it comes onto commentary and stuff like that, they come across really well, very polite, well-read individuals. But when we look at them play, it is fearful. It is just a barrage. And again, when they hit their mark, you like, something is gonna happen. Whereas it's like, he's good, he's quick. Archer, he's good, he's quick. The best thing I loved about Archer, and I shouldn't really say this, but he's hit Steve Smith. Steve Smith goes down. Everyone goes down. And granted, at the time, he didn't go and say, "Are you okay?" And if he knew the severity of the hit, he would have gone over. But from a captain's point of view, why would you that's his job.
Yeah, he hasn't played it well, and actually, but to me, it's again, I completely agree, but it's a case of balancing it. The best players can have the balance. The best players, and like I say, I think I'll leave it at, they bring a value to their team in more ways than just their ability, and the best players have the ability to have a real positive impact on a whole team through not just their individual skill set, but in terms of their characteristics as well. And I think you talk about Sachin Tendulkar as the best player of all time. And what did he was a lovable character. He's someone who went about his business, but was also good for the dressing room. There's a reason Kevin Peterson arguably could have had as much talent as Sachin as anyone in history. But he never got the best out of himself because he never allowed himself to. Because as much as everyone would go, "Oh, England were cheated out of their best batter," we went on to have so much success off the back of the era that Peterson built. Peterson created loads of young cricketers, but cricketers learnt as well from Peterson that I'm not going to be this way. I'm not going to have the same mentality as you, because as much as I would rather have the best team dynamic with players who maybe aren't as good but aren't as far off. We're talking about international cricket here. They may not be as good as Peterson, but there's also players that aren't going to be that like a million miles away from someone like Peterson. Yeah. So leaving that debate, I think it's about adding the most value to your team, and whether that's with individual performances as well as having the good characteristics. That's what makes the best the best.
Otherwise, again, they are like we're saying. There's so many different physical attributes that can give you the potential to reach the highest point. You can have the physical attributes all you want, but like you're saying, there has to be something innate within you mentally, and that's where the guys really differ. I think that's a really I think that's a fair point to kind of finish this topic and finish this podcast here, because I don't think we can get any deeper or meaningful from that. There is an understanding with the elite that you don't have to be the best bloke in the world to be the best player in the world. It's as simple as that.
Well, here's a question. Here's a point for you. I think it's quite a good comparison. Who would you say is one of, if not the greatest football manager of all time, especially in English football?
Football managers.
Football manager, yeah.
Sir Alex Ferguson.
And what was Sir Alex Ferguson's greatest strength? Getting the best out of his players, getting the best out of a team. Because you look at the teams he had towards the end, and he still got the best out of them. The most talented player that ever played for Alex Ferguson. Do you know who that is? Who Alex Ferguson said the best player he ever coached was?
I'm probably it's either going to be Diego Forlán or Jasko Blomqvist.
No, he came at an interview and said the most talented player he ever saw, the best player he ever coached, was Ravel Morrison.
Yeah, I knew that.
The same team as Paul Pogba, same team as Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, where's Paul Pogba gone? Where's Ravel Morrison gone on to?
Yeah, he went on loan to West Ham with Sam Allardyce. Sam Allardyce said
been to Birmingham.
Do you know why he went to Sam Allardyce? Because they thought that Big Sam could get through to him. And this goes back to my original point, Dave. This goes back to my original point. When you've got someone of that ilk, right? And Ravel Morrison is a huge step here. But if you had KP with the best management and the coach, could they manage that person to stay in that team?
Absolutely not, because you look at Andy Flower. Flower created one of England's best ever Test sides. Flower constructed a period of English history which will be remembered for forever, because he created the best Test side. And the only person that's got a negative word to say about Andy Flower is Kevin Peterson. Everyone else comes out and says positive things about him. And
maybe Grant Flower when he was younger. We don't know what it was like as a kid. He could have been a bully. Who knows?
Well, exactly. But I think the reason I use that example is because he's the most natural. And in football, how many players that are as good as the best players in the world don't make it because their attitude's not right? But in cricket, because of the fact that he was so unique, he had a terrible attitude, and that was ultimately to be considered one of the best in the world. I don't think you can put someone in that bracket if they don't have the right attitude as well, because it's about you're a role model, and like I said,
I think we can both agree that the mental side of the game, the mental attributes of a player, and everything that you do psychologically is probably more impactful to get you to the highest level rather than the physical. Well,
what sets you apart? Sets you apart?
I think that's top draw. I think that's fair enough, and I think this debate can go on forever, but we're going to obviously hold it there. Really enjoyed that. That was episode 2. For the future sort of stuff that we're going to discuss, and we mentioned it in episode 1, we're going to want you guys to kind of give us as much feedback and as much help as you possibly can by throwing in some questions for us, and we're going to look to do a question and answer at the end of each episode for questions that come in related around either the topics that we're doing. So again, there's no right or wrong way of sending these questions in. You can go through the Boundary2Boundary Instagram, and we've now got the YouTube that is going to be set up, and that's also going to be across. And even to begin with, obviously, Top Cricket Academy and Buzz About Cricket Instagrams and YouTube. And if you want any other coaching advice, those 2 pages are available. Dave, anything to add?
No, not at all. I think you rounded off perfectly. Guys, thank you so much for listening. That was really enjoyable, actually. Really good episode because, just like I say, that's an example of the sort of things we'll be looking to discuss. And we do have, like we said at the start, we have similar views in terms of we can construct an argument, but we also differ on a lot of things as well. So I think that was a perfect example today. Leave your suggestions in the comments below or contact us on Instagram for other ideas. And we'll see you on Friday for the next episode.
From Dave and myself, we are out.